Well, investment is not quarantined in the sense that from the so-called impact investing perspective or philanthropic perspective, social issues are not quarantined. As a matter of fact, they've been exacerbated by this global pandemic. Some of the existing issues have been exacerbated, and there are some new issues that have been introduced. So, for example, access to the vaccine. There are certain types of vaccines that are meant to be more efficacious, but at the same time, they are harder to store and transport, right? But at the same time, there are other types of vaccines that are meant to be more accessible in terms of transport and storage, but not as efficacious, and at the same time, they have some certain concomitant issues that come with these vaccines. So, the truth of the matter is, it's a pure sort of economics. Those who have a more resource are able to access the first type of vaccine, whereas the second types of vaccines are not readily available to those who are not as resourceful, right? So the question is, so that's a question, a social issue that is exacerbated. Another has to do with sort of social isolation. I don't think human beings were ever, designed to be in isolation en masse to such a large extent, to such a long, prolonged period of time. So these issues have now been introduced. Now the question becomes, do we address these issues? Do we interpret this? Like in everything in life, certain things, every event has to be interpreted in our minds. The question is, do we look at this as a sort of a profit-making opportunity? Or is this a kind of problem that needs to be solved in a systemic and also holistic manner? Now, if you're truly innovative, I'd like to think that you could do both, right? You can design, for example, a financial instrument that could solve social issues, and at the same time, hopefully you can, kickstart a cash flow. Now, wait, is that the question? Is there a second part? The second part of the question, right? Okay. You just keep going? Terrific, okay. So for those truly enterprising, innovative, in the investment community, policymaking community would like to be able to solve, the social issues and at the same time, hopefully make some sort of, cash flow at the same time. The question then is what should be the trigger that should, kickstart the cash flow? Now that is kind of the key question of the day, if you will, right? So when it comes to traditional sort of impact investing in philanthropy, there is no sort of agreed upon metric. There's no kind of a common language that could articulate impact in society that is industry standard or that's widely agreed upon, right? A good deal, as the core chapters of my doctoral thesis pertain to this. As a matter of fact, I try to design this, this set of metrics. And it was essentially a theoretical apparatus that I built by borrowing from artificial intelligence, econometrics, theoretical physics, and so forth, right? It turns out addressing a social issue and quantifying the impact upon this is not an easy thing at all. It's a very, very tall order that really calls for a great deal of resources, great deal of areas, and you essentially steal from everything, borrow from everything, like Bach said, great composers steal from everyone. So as a theoretical exercise, this is quite a worthwhile and intellectually satisfying thing to do. But the question is, how do we implement this in real life, right? In order for this to become a truly adopted industry standard type of methodology, you need live data, right? But in order for live data to become available, you need live people. And the live people need to commit live political will. So my partners and I now have kickstarted a pilot, a series of pilot studies where we use live data and we try to assess the impact of certain social impact sort of projects that are philanthropic in nature, but at the same time can inform a certain cash flow if you were to design a financial instrument on top of it. So those are the things that have kept myself and my partners awake at night, and that this is the way in which hopefully something good came out of this pandemic that has highlighted these social issues and created new ones. From the philanthropic and social impact perspective, this is a whole new era where we can really think of the world in a way that had not been, because who would have thought that a virus could transform the world and highlight all these social issues. So in some ways, I'm very sort of bullish about the world as we go ahead. There are several things that I'd like to highlight. So we are told that the received wisdom, if you will, is that we are living in the fourth industrial revolution. Okay, I'll have to be a little bit polemical and slightly heterodox and say that I don't necessarily subscribe to this view, not in the way that it's been, how do I put this delicately, marketed, right? However, if there's time and if there's another opportunity, I'll get into this in more detail. But the good news is that the technology strands that are meant to justify, substantiate this claim that we are living in the fourth industrial revolution has nowhere near reached the maturity that it could. So, for example, artificial intelligence is meant to be the key driver for this, the so-called 4IR. It turns out AI actually began as early as 1955 by Herbert Simon and Alan Newell, the logic theorist, and this was an attempt to automate proving logical theorems. And 1956, I believe, was when the term was coined. I can't be sure. So the AI, despite its long history, despite the great hype as of late and so forth, it still needs to be adopted in different industries. And one of the reasons which I'm able to diagnose this, if you will, is because the military worldwide has not really adopted it to such an extent. Okay, so AI, and what I'm very bullish about, for example, the NFTs, fractional shares, ownership via tokenization, and the geopolitical risks exacerbated by the U.S.-China race towards hegemony, and the key component of that is AI supremacy. So there are a lot of exciting investment opportunities that are on the horizon. Unfortunately, I don't know the extent to which the socially impactful investing will have such an optimistic future. Hopefully it will, but on the whole, I'm very bullish.